German planes dived low over the city as they attacked.
When the war started, they started to bomb Fishauf or the whole country. They ran with aeroplanes and with tanks. Polish army didn't have tanks and aeroplanes. So the army was defeated in a few days.
From a military standpoint, the Poles were hopelessly outclassed by their predatory neighbor.
In September 1939, it is said, Polish defenders pitted their cavalry against the massed tanks of the invading German army. Whether such a thing ever truly occurred is uncertain, but it gave new form to a myth deeply rooted in the Polish national consciousness, the myth of the doomed romantic gesture.
The Nazis, 5,000 modern tanks. Poland, 600 nondescript tanks. The German Luftwaffe, 6,000 modern planes. The Polish Air Force, less than 1,000 of inferior type.
The fire bombs over the city and everything was in flames. I took my mother and the two sisters and we went out to a village. We were in the woods. In case they bombed the house, we're not there. We could see from there, Fishauf was in flames. That started Friday, September the 1st. They went across the border from Germany into Poland. They bombed city by city by city by city, and thousands of people ran. And they ran across the other side of the Vistula.
The bridges over the Vistula were the main military objectives of the air raiders. And these were the only pictures made in the city during the siege. The situation was far more serious than the meager censored news reports had indicated. German planes were almost constantly in the sky, and huge craters were blasted in the streets, sometimes almost at my feet. Bombs did great damage to buildings and morale.
I couldn't run, I couldn't leave my mother and two sisters. I wanted to know which part of the town is in flames. So I started to walk back to Fishauf. I know the German army was already there. I saw them walking with trucks on the road, which was not too far away from the place where we stayed. So I started to walk. And they shoot at me. And bullets, boom, this side and this side. So I just stopped walking and I went back. And then a couple hours later, I went into Fishauf and the whole area were in flames.
Each afternoon, at 5:30, enemy air squadrons would drop incendiary bombs, and by nightfall, whole sections of the city would be blazing. Fires lighted up the city for miles around. The people who escaped would search for some relative or friend. They huddled together, perhaps drawing some courage from contact with their fellow sufferers.
I went in to see where my uncle used to live. I says, maybe I can help you to leave the place, to go somewhere. It's flames all around. No, they didn't want to go. Whatever it's going to happen, should happen to them in their own room, in their own bed. If they have to die, they want to die dead. It was quiet, no people around, just people which left across from one city to another through the highway. There were thousands on the highway, thousands. So German planes just flew very close and shot and killed everybody.
On September 6th, the main Polish mass began drifting toward Lodz. The German command sent the northern Nazi armored units racing through the gap to the Polish capital.
I stayed in Fishauf till November. The army went through Fishauf on trucks, on tanks. They left a guard group to look after Fishauf, and they went farther, took over more and more territory. So we went back and stayed in Fishauf at the apartment till a lot of people had left. My friends, all my friends had left. When they left to the Russian border. That was the only way. They're not going to go to Germany. They went to the Russian border. And then Russia took over a part of Poland.
On September 17th, the Soviet Union invaded Poland from the east. The Germans and the Soviets had secretly agreed to divide Poland between them.
The world was set on its heels by the announcement of a treaty between the Russians and the Germans in which they agreed not to fight each other. Here were the admitted arch enemies in a state of apparent friendship. It was too fantastic to make any sense.
After 3 months, Mommy told me, I'm waiting for you. I could go with the other friends, but I want we should go together. You gonna go or not? What should I do? I was afraid they're gonna, because my reputation was as a leftist, the Germans will arrest me and take me away. So we decided to go away. I organized 5 people, 3 men, and I was the 4th, and Mommy was with us. They said there was a city, the name was Sanok. We picked there because we investigate rumors, no solid information. So we went there. Coming off the train, the Germans arrested us, kept us overnight, sleeping on the floor. I had a watch, they took away my watch. And in the morning, they let us free. So we walked to the city. There were hundreds of people from different cities to line up. We lined up from 9 in the morning till maybe 2 o'clock. Then Jewish people from the Jewish Congress, which negotiate with the Germans to let through these people, announced that no, they don't open the border today. Go away, disperse, and who has no food should come to this Congress. They had an office. They hand out pieces of bread. We walked around in the city a whole day. The people from Sanok, the Jewish people, had left the whole city. They left the homes. The doors were open, the furniture was there, and they got across to the Russian side. So we, a whole group of people, went into a house. We slept on the bed, on the couch, on the floor. Middle of the night, someone knocked in the window. I am from the Jewish Congress. You see, the Germans don't want to open the border. I can show you where we can cross the river. We believed him. We went with them, the whole group. He took us away to another village far from Sanok. We walked and walked and walked for hours. We came to a deep river. The whole group came there. He says, just walk in and go across. Middle of the night. We started to walk in. Walked in our clothes. We had our winter coat, that's for November. My winter coat, in a knapsack with some spare underwear. I don't remember what else, a little bit of food from home. We walked, we hold hands, 3 of us. I hold hands with Mommy, and another fellow the other side, and we walked, the water higher and higher and higher, and it comes already to her. Mommy was shorter than I. She couldn't walk any more, so any farther, the water was to her mouth. I just tried to, I said to them, you stay here, walk. In a few steps, I feel that's coming up. So I went back, took them by the hands, and I lift up Mommy, and we went across. It was a struggle to get out from water, because everything was wet, and it held back to get up, and it was slippery because the water was running over.
How many people was there with you?
There were, I don't know, there were a lot of people, but different. The water was fast running water. People go one this way, one this way, one this way. We got across the tree. The rest I don't know what happened. We come out from the water, and we noticed far away like a house light in a window. We tried to go to the light, to the window, through the fence. It was hard to walk. We fall, we picked up and walked again. We arrived to the place where the lights were. We came in, there were already a full house of people across the river, which we didn't know. It was a farmers, Polish Ukrainian. Took off the clothes, squeezed out the water, whatever we could, put it back on, and then they say we should go on the attic. Over the house was a big attic with hay. They kept the hay for the winter, for the animals, for the cows. We just digged in the hay, otherwise it would be very cold. And we stayed over there a few hours till it got light. And we asked this man, he should show us where to get out. We were on the other side already, the Russian side. But we had to hide from the Russians too, because they don't know who crossed the border. Friends or enemies. We asked this farmer, we pay him. We had some zlotys. He took us to a main road, which was not far from our train station. Stopped on this main road, he says, go over there, walk over a half an hour and go wherever you want. So we went there and we got in the train. The three of us went to Lvov. It was in the morning, early morning. We walked down to the downtown area. On the way down, we saw a line of people, and it was a sign, employment place. They get jobs. So we lined up there. A friend come by. We were together and lodged. We know each other. Why are you standing here? I told him we would like to get jobs. We have to have some money for food. He gave us the address, where to go. It's a new office, ex-political prisoners or political friends. And there is Suchi Erlachman. It's a friend of ours, a very close friend from Staship. She is one of the leaders in this organization. We took off everything. It was a big room for meetings. We tried to dry our clothes, and then she came in. She went to find a place for us. It was a house in a very, very fancy area, two-story house, a private house, like a bungalow. She brought a paper from the government, from the city hall, give us a room. So that professor, a Polish professor, they were very anti-Semitic, especially in Lvov. So he had to give us a room in his house. So what he did, upstairs were the bedrooms. He took out the beds from a room, a big room, took out the beds and put in a table with chairs. Give us this room. And it wasn't heated. We had no place where to sleep. So we slept on the table, covered with a wet coat. Then we were looking for jobs. You know, in the time of the change, all the stores were closed up. People sold out everything on the black market. That was the war. Stores were empty. They sold it or they took it out and they hid the goods. So people didn't have where to buy anything.
Without illicit supplies from the countryside, most people would have died of starvation.
They barter soap or whatever else they may be able to spare.
Walking through the streets, sometimes you will hear whispers. Gold, gold, I will buy some gold. So black market was not only food, but many other things.
So the Russian government started to open Russian stores. I was hired to be a manager from a grocery store. First of all, we got bread. We didn't get anything else. But twice a day we got a shipment of bread. We're supposed to get other products, but as long as I was there, we get only bread. And bread was the main. There was a lineup of hundreds of people outside the store.
Did people buy the bread, or was it just given away free?
No, it was buying. I had to manage that store. I had 2 helpers. I had to go and order bread, try to get more and more bread. I worked there for a couple of months. They start to open textile, a sweater factory. So Mommy was helping them clean up the place and install the machines, and she worked there. She slept there too, because coming home to this room, a cold room, on the table with a wet coat, didn't pay. It was already January, beginning of 1940. Meantime, it opens a shoe factory, men's shoes. And I went to work in the shoe factory, and I took in Jutta too. You know, I worked in the upper department, and there were shoemakers which make the soles. Jutta was on the floor for me, supplying all these people with whatever they need to work on these shoes. Meanwhile, I moved from this professor's house. I took over Such's apartment. We didn't have anything in what to cook. We didn't have anything to heat. We couldn't get coal. We couldn't get wood. It was a war. Everything was rationed. We bought little things. We need blankets. Pots went on the market. You couldn't get anywhere else on the black market. You bought what you need. I went. We worked there. We started to establish our life there. And then we got married. We registered as a couple. And we lived together. That was the first time we lived together, actually. They offer us a passport, not as a legitimate Russian citizen, but with a statue that we are not trusted. We are strangers. We have no right to live in the big city. We can live in smaller places. So I didn't want to take this pass. I refused to take it. I thought I'm very loyal to this government, to this system, and I deserve a regular passport. I don't know, that was the reason or not that was the reason. One day they arrest people and take them away from the above. I thought a whole week they're not gonna touch us because I'm working in this factory, but someday we went to an opera. We came back home from the opera. Russian soldiers were waiting for us. They say we should get ready in a half an hour, pack whatever we can, and come with them. Took a blanket and throw in everything we could. And they took us to the Union station. Not all Jews, but mostly Jews. We were on the train for 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
6 weeks traveling, day and night, traveling.
Where did you get food? Did they feed you?
They give us, when we came to a major station, bread, they give us soup. They announced that the train with 300 or 500 people, they should prepare some food.
Why 6 weeks? Why did it take so long?
Because it was a war, trains were going back and forward. This train had to make room all the time for other trains to go, to get off the track at a side track.
So when you were on the train, was it like you were a prisoner? Or in a,
Well, yeah, they let us off the train. They didn't watch us, but where we gonna go?
did you know where you were going when you were on the
We
train?
didn't know where we're going. We arrived in Arkhangelsk. You can check on the map. Arkhangelsk,
Archangel?
northern Russia, northern, far north, the end of the world. We arrived there, and there was daylight all the time. We arrived middle of the night, and there we didn't know it's middle of the night because it was daylight. It was raining a whole day in the woods. The road was just soil, so the wheels just digged in the mud, and we had to push the horse on the wagon. We had our belongings. We didn't sit on the wagon. The horses couldn't pull us. How long we were walking, I don't know, because we start out, it was daylight. We finished, it was daylight. We went in through the woods. There were two barracks, big barracks. The train stopped in Kotlas. This was the end of the road. We just arrived there, a group of about 300 people. They give us like bags, from 2-3 bags made a mattress and filled with straw. This high like a bed. So we stayed together. Yitte was with us. We were three, with 3 mattresses, one beside the other. And then we started to work in the woods. This was the only work, cutting trees. And they started to build a new barrack for families. We worked the whole summer building this barrack. It was built without nails. Just we cut trees, took off the bark, cut out around, and fit in the other tree on top. Anyway, the 3 of us worked, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. This would be 1943. Then they give us a piece of land, and we start to grow our vegetables. We were freed. The Polish exile government from London made an agreement with the Russian government that the Polish citizens that were sent to Siberia, there were thousands and thousands. There were 400,000 Polish Jews.
Stalin signs treaties to gain strength. First with the Polish government in exile, represented by General Sikorski. Then with the Czechoslovakian government in exile, in the presence of his president Beneš. These are just 2 of the more than 200 treaties and international agreements communists sign and break.
They freed us and we all emigrate. But I wanted to go back to Lvov, but we couldn't go. And traveled and we settled in Kuybyshev, near Kuybyshev. I worked in the sugar factory in Mommy Yitte worked in the sugar factory. And then I changed my job because in the sugar factory, I worked in a place where the sugar was dry, maybe 200-degree heat. I worked naked. The floor was hot. I had to put on some schmattes on my leg not to burn my feet. We didn't have anything to eat. We eat only sugar. I ate sugar. I took a piece of sugar, wet with cold water, and ate it. In winter 44, it was a very, very cold winter. I came home from a trip. We went to get some stuff with sleighs and horses. I came home and I had a big coat that was cold, and I threw it. And a woman, a friend of ours, was in the house. She says, "Be careful, your daughter is there, up there. You were there, and a pillow." The first night you woke up, you were a few hours old. I was afraid to leave you on the oven. It was too hot, that you will get boiled. I was sleeping on the oven and hold you on my chest. And I was afraid if I told You can fall off. And I held you on my chest, and I didn't sleep a whole night. In the middle of the night, you woke up, and you cried a little bit. I took a little bit of water, put in sugar. Sugar I had because I worked in the center of the sugar. Wet it with a little piece of cloth. Wet your lips. You were sucking this piece of cloth. Something which I can't believe now. I was sent to pick up some oil in a factory for our organization with a horse and a sleigh. 2 horses and 2 sleighs and 2 people. We went there. So it was snowing the whole time, but for the whole week. The snow was this high. On the way back home, we stopped in a farmhouse, in a kolkhoz, to stay overnight. Put the horse in the stable, and I slept on the oven. In the Russian homes, the oven was used for sleeping too, because it was warm all the time. In the morning, we had breakfast there. There was an old man, 2 daughters, but the older daughter was the housekeeper. She made for us like hot water, and we had some bread, breakfast. So I had a dream at night. What is the dream? She asked. I says, I was in an orchard, very nice orchard, with trees and apples, beautiful apples. And I pick apples from the tree. Big apples, red in one side, very nice apples. And I picked them. Oh, it's a bad dream, very bad dream, she said, this woman. Someone in your family is very sick, very sick. That's a bad dream. I came home, I find out that mother was very sick, and it was very dangerous after a birth to have high fever. And I find out that in this army hospital, a woman, doctor from the Ukraine, from Kiev, and she told me she's very sick, very serious. The only thing I can do for you, she says, I will give you a letter. Maybe she can take into this hospital. I got off the train, I went to the hospital. She read the letter, and she said to me like this, where is the baby? Who's looking after it? My wife, a sick woman. She wrote a prescription for antibiotics, which was not available. She says, we haven't got it in the hospital. There is no to get in the drugstores. Maybe you can find somebody to get for you this medication. Let her take this medication if you get it. It was some hope. Anyway, I had a friend, a Russian couple. I went to them and I told this woman the story. I need this medication. I have to have it. She said, give it to me, prescription. I will try to get it for you. And she got it for me on the black market. She could get everything. She made for them boots. She bribed them whatever she could. But she had a connection everywhere. She got for me this medication. It cost a lot of money. She told me how much it cost, but she got it. 20 days, the temperature didn't come down. It was the same. She was very sick. 41st day, the temperature falling become normal. And she started to improve. I prepared a full pile of potatoes, and she was making latkes. She couldn't get out from bed, but in bed she did it. Cooked a soup, they helped her. The 2 women helped her. You were a strong baby. How you survived that 40 days, I don't know. but you survived. Mommy was feeding you with breast milk. She had very little, very little. She had fever. After the 21 days, she started to improve. She was still in bed. Little by little, she got out from bed. Come back to normal. That was a miracle. Nobody could believe that she will survive. That was my worst worry, to leave her on the way. This was 1944. I traveled a lot. My job was supplying the organization with all the needs. If you don't pick up the order, you never get them. So I had to travel places all around. Middle of the night, I had a train, and I traveled places, different places all over. My mother was looking after you till the war finished. The war finished in 1945. Middle of the night, we heard the news that the war finished, the Germans capitulated.
The Nazis had capitulated. The last shot was fired. The defenders of the city greet the rescuing army of the dawn.
In 1946, the Russian government announced that all the Polish citizens, which they desire to go back to Poland, will be supplied with a train in Fishauf. I registered all of us, 4 people with 2 babies. Yitte got married there also. There were a whole train with 50 or 100 boxcars, not passenger cars, cattle cars.
Long line of trains and hordes of people that are being pushed into cattle trucks. There was such a shock after receiving all these promises. There was nothing, just a bunk stretching from one wall to the other, the small barred windows, the hole in the floor, which was supposed to be our toilet, and just some metal stove in the middle of this train for people with small children to cook something on.
We feel that we are not welcome in Russia as Polish citizens. Very few stay.
Unlike the Americans, British, Canadians, Australians and New Zealanders they served alongside, there was no land fit for heroes for the Poles to return to when the war was over. They helped win the war, but the peace that followed was to prove every bit as much of a challenge.
And we traveled into Poland. It was a few days, a couple of days. We came into the Polish border and checked the passport. I still have somewhere. They give us a visa, which was half Polish, half Russian. And they took off the Russian part. We went across Waldenburg, Wałbrzych in Polish. In Germany it was at Waldenburg. It was a nice big city. We got an apartment, a beautiful apartment. The Germans were throwing out and told me, Polish people, this is your apartment. I said, they were a woman with 2 children with word, out, out, out. They started to yell to them. I said, where should I go? Don't worry about them. They didn't worry about you either. Polish people told me.
Peace always has a dark side. And what happened after liberation throws the spotlight on the moral compass of the victors. When ethnic Germans became objects of violence after the war, many saw, but few were interested. The largest ethnic cleansing in history, sanctioned by the victorious Allies.
Anyway, we took over this apartment, a 2-room apartment with a nice furniture, nice everything. They couldn't move out anything. They had bicycles. They told them even not to take the bicycle. This belonged to you, they told me.
The 6 million Germans living east of the Oder were forcibly expelled as Eastern Germany became Western Poland.
Then I had a letter from friends from Solschniefe in Zwettl and Heine. They were in another city in Austria. School wanted to go to Stashik, and we decided we will go together. So he came over to Wałbrzych, he and another Stashever, a friend, and we decided Thursday night we going into Kelts and go to Stashik. But Thursday night I asked the man I work for, he should pay me my wages I going for a few days to Kelts. He says, I haven't got any money right now. Tomorrow, Friday or Saturday, I will have the money to pay you. But now I haven't got. So I asked the school, stay over another night. We'll go a day later. No, they can't. They have to go tonight. So they left. I took them to the train. They left, and I remained. Friday morning, I go to work. I see on the stands on the newspapers a pogrom in Kelts. Polish people from Kelts made a pogrom. They killed 42 Jews and many injured. The Kelts city committee had a little office, a few rooms to stay overnight. So a Polish woman, she started to yell, and there was a factory not far, a steel factory on the other side of the city. Polish workers used to work there. You going to work? A Polish boy was kidnapped by the Jews. You going to work? Doing nothing? So they ran out from this factory with pieces of iron, pieces of axe, and they attacked this house. There were people stay overnight. They attacked this house. They killed 42 people. In school, with this other guy from Wałbrzych, arrived with the train. They come out from the train, they attacked them, they killed this guy. In school was very badly injured. I missed it, not going because I couldn't get the money. Otherwise I would be killed then.
In the city of Kelts, the fascist underground killed 41 Jews. A trickle became a stream became a flood.
In Kielce, 42 Jews were murdered. And they knew they could no longer live in the towns and the villages and the shtetls where they were born.
10, 100, 1,000, soon 100,000 fled, trying to reach the border. Humanely, the Czech government granted aid and passageway to the persecuted. Down the roads that lead to safety in the American zone of Germany.
They went back to Germany, to the death land, because we were there, Americans, and we would help them get to Palestine.
After that, there were a very bad situation in Poland, anti-Semitic. This woman was arrested, right away made a court case, had a trial for killing Jews. Some got time to serve in jail, others got dead. In Waldenburg, where I lived, in the morning one day, there were a Jewish community center where all the Jews got together in the morning and find out what's new. In the middle of the night, somebody broke a window and throwing leaflets, all the Jews has to leave Poland. If not, we're gonna make a pogrom here in Wałbrzych too. A lot of people start to leave. After 3 months in Wałbrzych, in Poland, we had 2 small children. Anne was 2 years old. Jitte's daughter was a year old. We didn't want to stay and take chances. We had mind to remain in Poland, but after this anti-Semitic attacks, we decided to leave. If not, I wouldn't be here. There were an organization, a Jewish organization that helped people emigrate from Poland unlegal, the Bricha. They give us an appointment and we went there and we stayed there in the middle of the night. They had made a contact with the Polish border guard, Poland in Czechoslovakia. So we went across the Czech border We traveled on trucks to a city in the Czech Republic. The Brecha bribed the guard. Before we got into this Czech city, they told us we have to walk. It's middle of the night, and they don't want any trucks should go in, it will make a noise, and people will find out. So walking through the city, middle of the night, was very hard. We walked and walked. I had a knapsack, and I had you on my arm. Then Salek fell behind. We couldn't keep up walking. I took Zipporah on my other arm and hold the two of you. For Mom, it was very hard to walk with the knapsack. I took her knapsack on my shoulder. And then I took Salek's knapsack. I had 3 knapsacks on my back and the 2 children. And we walked and walked for hours till we arrived in a house, a big house. We stayed there for a few days. We knew we were going to Germany. Germany set up Jewish refugee camps, but the Brecha also. They didn't want Jewish people to remain in Poland, so they organized this underground line. They bribed the Polish border guard, they bribed the Czech, got into Germany to Hof, was a city near the Czech border, a German city. In Germany was many camps.
DP camps, displaced persons camps. And these DP camps all over Germany and Austria were old death camps.
In these camps, they wanted to organize illegal boats to Israel, to Palestine. That wasn't Israel yet, that was Palestine. We stayed there, they registered everybody, they took away all the documents, what we had. They said they will give back. I had a birth certificate, an original from Poland. They took away this, they give me a piece of paper. I am no citizen from any country, stateless. We stayed there a couple of days. I left Mommy and the children and everybody. I went there and I find out that in Ulm they organized a new camp. So I went back to Hof, took the whole family, we went to Ulm. But trains were free, everybody could travel for free, it was chaos. Every camp that they organized was full. They have no room for others. So we find out that in Ulm gonna be opened a new camp. They opened the camps in army barracks. There were a lot of room. So Ulm was a big army camp. Sedan Kaserne was not occupied yet, so they opened a new Jewish camp. Since I went back to Hof and took the family right into Ulm, the camp was almost already full. We stayed in Ulm till you were born. In July 49, they liquidate the camps. In 48, before that, they had illegal boats going to Israel, which the British attacked them. They blocked them, and they didn't let in any Jewish boats go through.
Largest illegal immigrant ship to date, the American vessel President Warfield, renamed Exodus 1947, arrives in Haifa with nearly 5,000 on board.
The largest shipload of Zionist refugees. The vessel having been rammed and damaged by a British destroyer in a wild melee, 4,500 Zionists bound for Palestine. Taken to the port of Haifa, the refugees will be put aboard another vessel and sent back to France, whence they came.
They sent them back, and then after 48, when it was established the Jewish state, there were a legal emigration to Israel, and they forced the Jews to emigrate. They liquidate the camps. So who didn't want to go to Israel, they took to America. So they offer us to go to California. But you were a few days old. Mommy was afraid to travel on a plane from Germany to New York, and then another plane from New York to California with a 2 weeks old baby. So we didn't go. When the camp was liquidated, we were sent, the remain people were sent to a different camp in Germany.
And what was the reason you decided not to go to Israel? Because Yitter and Salek and Zipporah went to Israel.
Yes, there were a lot of immigrants. They didn't have no room in Israel, no place for them. They were staying in camps, like in tent. Yoel wrote to me, "Come to us, we will see, you should get a place where to stay." But I was afraid. So I wrote to my aunt in Philadelphia. She made papers for us. But it was the same situation. We could pick or to California or to Philadelphia when the camp was liquidated. So we decided to wait a little bit. We had to wait for our quota for Philadelphia. California we could go then, but Philadelphia was a legal permit what was made for my aunt. So we had to wait for the quota, which we didn't know when it will come through. Brenda made papers for us to come to Canada.
So how did you know Brenda?
We know her from hometown, from before she left Poland. She left in 1937. We didn't keep in touch during the war years, but after the war we find out her address, we wrote to her, and she made papers for us.
You could only bring a relative.
Right.
So how did you get around that?
Well, she could only claim I'm a brother, a stepbrother from different mothers, different fathers too. Through their marriage we become step siblings, but we weren't. Papers from Canada were due before the papers to Philadelphia. So we went to Canada. The trip from Germany to Canada.
To Halifax, yeah.
Well, we went with a boat. It was an army, an American army. People without a home, stateless people on U.S. Army boat. We were traveling from Germany. We stayed in Germany where the boat takes off. We stayed there. We went through the medical treatments, checking us, all kind of medical tests. I took you to get the needles. We traveled about 10 days. Mommy was very sick on the boat, and you were sick. You were very sick. I went once with you to go to eat, and I went with you. You were so hungry. A plate with spaghetti. You got in with your hands, and you started to eat like this. You were very hungry, but you weren't affected by traveling, and I was walking like on air. I started to be sick. So that was the traveling.
And how long was the trip?
The trip was about 2 weeks on the boat. In Halifax, we took a train into Montreal, and then we had to change into Toronto. In Toronto, they waited for us. Brenda in Wilbur-Wittenberg came to the train. We arrived. So we came to Canada and we settled here. Brenda rented for us a flat in Wales. I started to learn to be a tailor. I didn't know this trade. I made $13 the first week. Rent alone was $45 a month. I made $13 a week. Then my aunt from Philadelphia came. She went with me to the bank and opened an account. First account she opened for me. and put in $300 American. The other end came and left me, I think, $500. Then I asked for a loan in the Fishauf Society of $500. And we bought this house in Havelock. This house in Havelock, we lived downstairs in the 3 rooms. And upstairs was rented to another couple. It was rented furnished. Those days, we have to give them linen in towels. And she was every week doing laundry for linens. 5 rooms was rented out. She had to supply and clean the house. The floors were neglected, were dark. She wanted to make them lighter, floor polish, wash the steps, cook the meals. Thanks to the rooms we rented out, we could start to live like a little better, have a little more income.
Where were you working in those days?
Working in a factory of Spadina, clothing
factory.
A new trade. I learned this trade in Toronto. I wanted to get out from the factory. I didn't like to work for somebody in the factory. Couldn't make a living. I learned the trade late. I wasn't a good tailor. I wasn't fast enough. So I didn't make enough. It was peaceful. It was a factory on Spadina. Fishauf was there. They didn't pay me anything anyway. I worked a week, they pay me $7, $13. Then after a few weeks, an operator asked me, how much they pay you? I says, $13. I will pay you 20. Come work with me. I started to work with him and pay me 20. So I was better than he was. I learned the trade. So I worked with him a few weeks. Then I says, I know enough. I want to work on my own. Give me a bundle. I made it and I made $30 of it. So that's how I started. And I started to work at home in the basement, to take home work. I was very anxious to start. I bought material, cut and made jackets, and went to Spadina, to Dundas, there were wholesales, and I sold the jackets. And I made double on my own. So I organized the whole production. I cut and I give it out like others took out from factories. They took out from me. And I give out to people to work. Materials, in linings, in everything. And I was cutting. I learned how to cut good. In the factory I saw how they cut. I learned how. And I cut jackets, windbreakers. And they bought from me. I had a machine, a cutting machine. I bought from someone a used machine for cheaper. Saturday I cut 100 jackets or 150 jackets. Nearby was a flower shop. That man had a van. I arranged with him. He should take from me the bundles, what I made, and took them to the different people. He took the bundles, delivered, and picked up from them the ready-made jackets, brought them back. When they brought them back, I marked down the buttonholes. And I arranged, on Spadina was a place they made buttonholes. Monday morning, the man went down to open his place. He stopped into my place and picked up all the jackets, and he made the buttonholes Monday. I arranged with a cleaning and pressing man. He was glad to get extra work. So I arranged he should pick up from the buttonhole maker all the jackets, press them, make them ready, and bring them back pressed to me. All arranged by telephone. And it worked very beautiful. Tuesday or Wednesday, they brought the jackets pressed. A neighbor from Havelock came in and was sewing by hand. Usually I didn't have a button sewing machine. She sewed on the buttons by hand. And then when the buttons were sewn on, I had already orders. To Solnitsky, 50 jackets. To York Chabas, 30 jackets. They went down to Spadina, to their businesses. They stopped in Havelock. They got cheaper for me. In the summer was windbreakers, in the winter was like parkas for boys, mostly boys jackets. Friday, when I went home from work, I went to Spadina, to Dundas, where they had the stores, and I got paid. I give them 30 jackets, he paid me for 30 jackets.
What did you sell a jacket for?
$10, $9. It was working very nicely, and I made more than in the factory. Took me time to organize and to find out where to buy the materials. I managed to get patterns. I bought a jacket and I took apart and I made a pattern. I was free, so Warner came to me. We should start together. I didn't knew him actually. He is a Stashev. He was a Stashev. When I needed some work to take home, before I start my own, I went to Warner. I knew that his factory gives out to home workers. I went to him and I asked him, give me home work.
Did Mommy do any sewing during the day?
A little, she wanted to help me out, but one time, which it was my stupidity, supposed to be on the upper, and she did on the other part. And I was mad, and I took it apart, whole day work, took it apart, and I did it over and over again. Take out the stitches, take out the thread. It shouldn't be seeable. Took me a day. So I says, don't do it anymore. You don't help me anything. It cost me more time. It was stupid. That could go through the way it is. Nobody would realize. I realize now, nobody would know the difference. I took it apart. And that was then. She didn't help me sewing. She liked to go out every night, which I feel sorry about it now. I was mad she left, she went away every night almost. She stayed home a whole day. In the evening she wanted to go out, was active in the library. She was the librarian, and so she had to be 3 days a week there to give out books. She was active, very active.
When you first arrived in Canada, how was her health?
She was not a healthy person. Mommy took sick. She couldn't walk up the stairs to the washroom. We had to change. We look around for a triplex. We can have an apartment with a washroom on our own. Sold this house for 11,000. We didn't make any money in it, but we had income for 6 years from this house. Then we sold it and got some money. We lived there 6 years. We bought it in 51, sold it in 57. In 1957, we moved to the Banana Drive, to the apartment, to the triplex. We paid about 31,000. I took a loan from the society again. I become a partner in the Cooper Garment. Cooper, Moshe Cooper, he lent me $500 or $1,000. I helped them. He ran a business, he didn't know anything in tailoring. I started with him and then it didn't work out. Then I started with Warner. Warner became a partner with all the three. We became 3 partners. I just bought the triplex and we decided to go in partnership, the 3 of us. Everybody had to put in about $1,000 to pay out Moshe Cooper, his materials he had there, and take over his place. I supposed to get paid weekly. We decided everybody will get $75 a week. But the loan, to buy in as a partner, I had to put in money which they guaranteed from me. So we decided $50. I took a loan from a bank, and I took a loan from the partners. I should pay every week $45 for one loan and $45 for the other loan in the bank. So I remained with $45 a week, which it wasn't enough. Mommy needed pills, which was a loan about $10 a week. Well, no health issues. I went to the doctor almost every second week. With her, we paid $20 for a visit. $20 was a lot of money those days. And it was very hard. $25 was not enough for food. And I had to pay a mortgage, but we rented out the 2 apartments,
Right.
which that helped. $45 didn't last. The mortgage had to be paid every 3 months. Now a mortgage you pay every month. Those days, every 3 months. So during the 3 months, I could use this money. So it was a little easier, but didn't make enough to live on. And I had to look after the 2 children, take mommy to a doctor. I had to come home from work, take a taxi to the doctor, paid $20, took a taxi to take home. This was a big strain on our budget, big strain. It was terrible. They knew at this Parkinson's disease that it was nothing could be done.
A degenerative disorder of the central nervous system that affects movement and often includes symptoms such as shaking, rigidity, and difficulty with balance.
They didn't have any medication. Mommy was looking for all kind of journals. And she found out that in New York there is a Dr. Cooper which treats this Parkinson's is controlled by the brain, which controls the muscles. And he drills a hole in the skull and put in some medication into the brain cells and cures this. Mommy wanted to go through everything is possible. She should be able to function. So she wanted to go through that. We made an appointment with Dr. Cooper. I took her to New York. I stayed there with her a week or 2 weeks. A famous hospital in New York. We stayed there. She went through all the examination during a week or 2 weeks. I don't remember how long. And they told her, no, they can't do anything now. She should come back in a year or 2. Maybe then they will do it. We came back home. She was very sick. She got worse. Then she found out that in Romania, there were a magazine that in Romania, a doctor in Romania in a hospital is cured this kind of sickness with all kind of injections. So we wrote a letter to this professor in Romania hospital, and they sent the medicine. We should start the medicine here. The prescription was, you know, when somebody goes to have an operation, they put them to sleep. Anesthetic medication into the veins. And this should help. That's what she found out. We arranged with a doctor here. He came to the house twice a week and give her this medication. Needles didn't help anything. She says, if we can get a permit from the Romanian consul to come into Romania, she will arrange a hospital to take her in, because she's a foreign citizen, not a Romanian citizen. Romania was in that time a communist government. I talked to the leader of the Communist Party in Toronto. I talked to him, and he arranged on the Romanian government to give us a visa. That was in '59. I went to Montreal, I put down the plane, and she left. And I find out later, coming to Romania, she was unconscious. They had to take her with a stretcher into the hospital. She was sick. She couldn't stand the trip. She couldn't eat. They couldn't do anything. She felt very lonesome. She missed the 2 children she left at home. She was very worried about them. I talked to her, and then I decided to go bring her back home. She left Toronto beginning of August '59, and I brought her back in March 1960. I went from Toronto to Romania. I stopped over, I had to get a visa in. There was no Romanian embassy in Toronto. I had to go to England. And in England, in London, I got into the Romanian embassy. So I had to wait for a visa a week time. So what I gonna do in London a week? So I went into Israel. And I visit Yoel, Lion, Yitta. I was there the week. Then I got the visa and I went from Israel to Romania. Meanwhile, she heard in the news on the radio, a plane from the States crashed and people got killed. She thought that I'm on that plane. And she had a nervous breakdown there. She thought I got killed on the plane, but I wasn't on that plane. So I came to Romania. We had to come to New York and then to Toronto. And it was very, very cold. A cold winter, a cold storm. Trees were piled up with snow this high. And I took her back home. We came in March, April, May, June, July. I think in August she passed away. You were both in the camp that day. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
It was a very tough time, very tough. Tough to look after a sick person. I had to make a living. Nobody gave me. I didn't have any other money, just what I earned. I had to put bread on the table. It was very tough, very tough. She was very sick, but she was a beautiful person. I never forget her. There's not one day passed since she passed out. I shouldn't remember.